I heard a lot of wows in here, and that's for sure. That was, you know, we're so lucky to have concert pianists almost every week, and it's, well, we're just lucky. But we deserve it, so that's okay. I'm Phyllis Culp, and I'm your service leader for today, and I just really want to tell you how much I love being service leader. This is one of the highlights of my time, is to look out at the people here and feel just the camaraderie and the beauty and the love that's in this room all the time, and it's really refreshing. And I also like to know that we have all our friends on Zoom too, so that's really good. It makes us connected. So that's why I really love to do this, and you didn't need to know that, but now you do. Okay. We have two people speaking today, Reverend Tom Rosiello and Bill Dalsimer. This is also a high for me. It's nice to have Tom back, and I've been at UU for 50 years, and I can honestly say that he's my favorite minister, and I have liked all of them. So it's good to have him here. It makes me feel full. The other, Bill Dalsimer, I think of him as our fellowship statesman. I'm sure he wouldn't agree with that, but he has helped us move forward so many times and in such a gracious way that it's hard just not to love him to pieces too. So we have a very loving fellowship, and we are fortunate to have some very loving people in it. So now to the stuff I'm supposed to do. Okay. I have announcements. After the service, those on Zoom are invited to stay connected and visit with us in the main room for discussion with Tom. I think Tom will be there. And those of us who are at the Aldea, that's here, can join us for coffee and cookies downstairs. So that would be good. And what I'm supposed to be doing is welcoming you. So welcome everybody who's here in this room, and welcome everybody who's here on Zoom. And if we have any visitors today who are new for the first time here or are returning after a long absence, we'd love to have you stand and say your name and where you've been or where you're from, and we welcome you. We have a microphone coming around.
Good morning. My name is Peter Soley, and I am now happily a resident of San Miguel. I've been coming for 20 years. My parents were members of this congregation, and I've been coming transiently over many, many years. But it's nice to be here and now call San Miguel my home and be part of this community.
Wow, welcome, Peter. Okay, we're glad you're here. And we have some...
I came here many times a few years ago. I had friends who had it all, and I'm here since 22 years. And I came last week. I have some friends here from Hope, and I decided to make a report to get up every morning, every same morning.
Good.
But not very long and listen to what I like to do.
Wow. We're so happy that you're here, and we hope to see you next Sunday too. Thank you. And in the back? Whoop, in the front.
Hi, I'm Diane Kolosinski, and I'm a member from afar. We're actually now living in Palm Springs. This is my partner, Michael. And we used to live here off and on for about 16 months, and I was actually your greeter back then, so I missed that. It was great to meet all of you then. It's wonderful to be back and to see all your beautiful half faces. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're so glad you're here. And one nice thing about even people with masks is we can look at you and still tell that you're smiling in there. We like it. Okay.
Yep, I'm Jennifer Younghall, and I used to live here, and I've returned for at least 6 months. There's a big hook in San Miguel like this in the back of your collar, and if you go away, it just keeps pulling you back.
Well, Jennifer, welcome back. We're happy you're here. Good. Okay. So if you see any of these people at the coffee afterwards, just say hi. That would be really nice for all of us, new friends. And for people on Zoom, if you're visiting for the first time, put your name in the chat, and everybody will know you there, and they'll look for you after the discussion. Okay, we do record all of our, because we have such a wonderful staff, actually. We do record our Sunday in-person services, and we expect to post today's service on YouTube by Wednesday of this coming week. Meanwhile, we'll also be working to get caught up with posting previous services. We got a little bit behind, but we're catching up really quickly. So our YouTube channel is a great resource. And just go to youtube.com and type in UUFSMA to access the great wealth of recordings we've collected there. Okay, hopefully you'll go and see this again and say, oh my goodness, don't let her be service leader again. Okay, finally, please check the order of service or our website, UUFSMA.org, to see the various events sponsored by the fellowship and information on how to become a member. We'd love to have all of you come and join us. And now Tom will give us the opening words.
Good morning. It's so wonderful to be back with you in San Miguel, and again, of course, sharing with all of you who are here on Zoom. As you heard, I'm Tom Rosiello, Minister of the Fellowship. You know, often our spiritual lives are characterized or identified as a journey. And this time we spend together each Sunday is also a journey to the best part of ourselves, a journey towards deepening relationships with one another, a journey of faith or of helping us to better understand those things that we claim as true, a journey of fellowship, of service to others, a journey to a place of more truth, more justice, more love. This is where we're bound this morning and every morning when we share this time together. And of course, that place to which we are bound is a land of joy, where there'll be singing and celebration. Our faith has a powerful, saving, and joyful message to share. So let's raise our voices as an invitation to each other to take that journey together. And following Malcolm's lead, I invite you to stand, to sing, to move, to clap your hands. It's one of the hymns in our supplement, 1018, but the words are going to all appear on the screen. So come and go with me. Please rise as you're able and join in. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Please be seated. On our personal life journey and on this wonderful journey together, sometimes we can lose sight of our way. We can get occupied with details and distractions and forget what's most important. What we need to stay on the right path is a light to illuminate the way, a beacon to guide us. You might say that providing that beacon, that guiding light to beckon us on and help us illuminate our path, is actually the central role of all religion, and it certainly is of ours. We remind ourselves of that each week when we light our chalice flame. That flame kindled by human hands with a spark of the sacred light that dwells in each of us, that is what represents our guiding light. It's a beacon of truth, as best as we can know it. It's a flame of love that we are charged to embody in our daily lives. And it is a fire of justice that we know we must kindle and seek. And it's a single flame, reminding us that we are at our best when we come together as one. I now invite our participants to share the covenant with you, both in English and Spanish.
Okay, we respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant. And now Diana will help us in Spanish. Thank you.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a truly sacred time in our service, a time when members and friends share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like shared in an upcoming service, please go ahead and email it in. And if you're on Zoom and you have one that you'd like to share today, please type it into chat, and Deanna's going to be watching the chat so we can share those as well. As we share, we light a candle for each one, symbolizing that that person, that prayer, that thought is present with us in this service. And Phyllis will be lighting those candles for us this morning. Our first candle is one of connection and support for Bob Culp and Christy McHugh as they remain in Michigan for Bob's extended regimen of treatment. He just had a rest time from chemo and at home and is about, I believe, to return to the hospital for another round of chemo. We again send our thoughts and prayers to them and wish they weren't so far away so we could do more to support them in person. Among our folks who are part of our community, there are some who are pretty much housebound or unable to come, at least at the present time. So thanks to our wonderful care team, we bring community to them. And I'd like to light candles for those folks that the care team has been checking in on, and also a candle for members of the care team for the wonderful work. The first candle is for Elisa Gonzalez, who's still home recovering from surgery to repair her broken femur and recovering from some other medical complications. She's working hard doing her therapy, but I know the recovery is not as fast as she would like. But I heard from a member of the care team that she's in good spirits on a recent visit, even singing while she's exercising. The next one is for Els Marie Norby, who continues to do well on dialysis, living at Sophie's Place in Los Frailes. And this one is just for those members of the care team who continue to do that. Their work is unseen, and it's important we know that they're doing it on all of our behalves. As all of you know for sure, this is 9/11, and we remember the horrible event of 21 years ago. We light a candle in remembrance of those who died that day, for those who were rescue workers, for others who have died since, and for the many who suffered and died from the hate and the war that was provoked on that day. We light a candle because for Mexican Independence Day, which is this week, September 16th, and for freedom all over the world. A candle of remembrance and celebration of the long life of Queen Elizabeth II and for the good work she did during her reign. This is also a candle of condolence for the British people and the many who mourn her passing around the world. Once again, we light a candle for the people of Ukraine. Maybe we can light the blue one. There we go. We light this blue and yellow candle for the people of Ukraine and for all those who are suffering on whatever side because of the needless and unprovoked war and violence and war anywhere in the world. A candle of gratitude for rain. This week here in San Miguel and in many places in the U.S. experiencing severe drought conditions. With our gratitude for this week's rain comes our continuing concern for those suffering from drought and for all the negative impacts of climate change and our resolve to do what we can to save our planet. Deanna, do we have any from Zoom? From Linda Sorum, it says, "Welcome back, Tom." Thank you, Linda. You know, in this time of sharing, it's important to remember that we all need to receive support, comfort, and consolation at some times in our lives. And at the same time, important to remember that we all have so much of that we can give. We're called to be generous with our love and our caring for others. When we reach within ourselves, we realize that there is so much more to share, more to give, than we sometimes do realize. It can sometimes feel like a very harsh, sad world, lacking in love and hope and peace and joy, especially on this anniversary of September 11th. But we really need to remind ourselves that there is more within us and around us, more that we can embrace, more that we can share. Please join in following Malcolm's read to sing hymn number 95 in the Gray Hymnal. It's a meditative hymn, so you can remain seated during this.
So
Amen. So beautiful to hear you sing that. You know, each Sunday in various different ways, we use this time in our service to remind you of why we give, why we financially contribute to this fellowship, why this fellowship is worthy of our generosity. For some of us, it's the generous grants we give to many worthy community organizations. For others, it's the support of ministry, for the services we create each week, for the music, for the wonderful staff that makes it all possible. For many, it's the opportunity to be part of a beloved community and grow in love and in knowledge of our liberal faith tradition and in knowledge of the needs pressing on our world. For me, I contribute to this fellowship because I want it to thrive, to be all that it can be in all those areas and in more areas. This fellowship has survived for 35 years in this community and in many different areas has thrived. I contribute to this fellowship because I want it not just to survive for another 35 years, but to thrive and embrace the new opportunities that it has at this time. So today I'd like to share with you a reading that comes from a workshop done about thriving UU congregations. It's entitled Thriving versus Surviving, and you can actually read along because it's printed in your order of service for those of you who are here. I hope it inspires your generosity this morning. A thriving congregation focuses on what can be. A surviving congregation focuses on the way we've always done it. A thriving congregation always has new people joining. In a surviving congregation, membership rarely changes. A thriving congregation always has more ideas in the works than they presently have funds to support. Surviving congregations start with the idea that we should think small because there's never enough money. In a thriving congregation, there is a strong connection between committees, working together for mutual benefit and maximum impact. In a surviving congregations, the committees keep to themselves. A thriving congregation welcomes diversity and actively reaches out to bring in new people. A surviving congregation waits for people similar to them to find them. A thriving congregation evangelizes. A surviving congregation fossilizes. The morning offering will now be gratefully accepted. Here in the room, the ushers will be passing baskets to receive your gift, and on Zoom, there'll be information on how you contribute. And please be as generous as you can.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
Sometimes I feel that my life is a series of trapeze swings. I'm either hanging on to a trapeze bar, swinging along, or for a few moments in my life, I'm hurtling across space in between trapeze bars. Now, most of the time, I spend my life hanging on for dear life to my trapeze bar for the moment. It carries me along at a certain steady rate of swing, and I have the feeling that I'm in control of my life. I know most of the right questions and even some of the right answers. But once in a while, as I'm merrily or not so merrily swinging along, I look out ahead of me into the distance, and what do I see? I see another trapeze bar swinging towards me. It's empty. And I know in that place in me that knows that this new trapeze bar has my name on it. It's my next step. My aliveness coming to get me. And in my heart of hearts, I know that for me to grow, I have to release my grip on the present, well-known bar to move on to the new one. Now, each time it happens to me, I hope, no, I pray that I won't have to grab the new one. But in my knowing place, I know that I must totally release my grasp on my old bar, and for some moment in time, I must hurtle across space before I can grab onto the new bar. And each time I'm filled with terror. It doesn't matter that in all my previous hurdles across the void of knowing, I have always made it. Each time I'm afraid that I will miss, that I'll be crushed on the unseen rocks in the bottomless chasm between the bars. But I do it anyway. Maybe this is the essence of what the mystics call the faith experience. No guarantees, no net, no insurance policy. You do it anyway because somehow to keep hanging on to that old bar is no longer on the list of alternatives. And so, for an eternity that can last a microsecond or 1,000 lifetimes, I soar across the dark void of the past is gone, the future is not yet here. It's called transition. I have come to believe that this is the only place that real change occurs. I mean real change, not the pseudo-change that only lasts until the next time my old buttons get punched. I have noticed that in our culture, this transition zone is looked upon as a no thing, as a no place, between places. Sure, the old trapeze bar was real, and the new one coming towards me, I hope that's real too. But the void between, it's just a scary, confusing, disorienting nowhere that must be gotten through as fast and as unconsciously as possible. What a waste. I have a sneaking suspicion that the transition zone is the only real thing, and that the bars are illusions we dream up to avoid the void where the real change occurs. Now, whether or not my hunch is true, it remains that the transition zones in our lives are incredibly rich places. They should be honored, even savored. With all the pain and fear and feelings of being out of control that can accompany transition, they are still the most alive, growth-filled, passionate, expansive moments in our lives. And so transformation of fear may have nothing to do with making fear go away, but rather giving ourselves permission to hang out in the transition between trapeze bars. Transforming our need to grab that new bar is allowing ourselves to dwell in the only place where change really happens. It can be terrifying. It can also be enlightening in the true sense of the word. Hurtling through the void, we may just learn how to fly.
Has there been a time in your life when you felt something more was possible? Not that life was bad, but perhaps something was holding you back from a new adventure. Maybe from new ways to contribute to the world. That seemed that there was something more waiting for you. Perhaps you saw it in a dream, or it occurred to you as a repeating thought. You imagined something new. You could see it on the horizon. But, and it's a big but, to embrace it, you had to let go of the comfortable, the familiar, even the good of the present. Something more was right before you, but it was just out of reach. You could not grasp it without letting go of those familiar things, the secure, the comfortable, the way that you'd always been living your life. You could come up with all sorts of good reasons to dismiss that dream, the very idea of the change that would be necessary. Things are fine, you thought, and they can just go on being fine. But at some level, you knew that wasn't true. You knew there was something just beyond your reach that could bring new purpose, new excitement to your life. A place where you could really thrive, could be all you could be. Perhaps a place where you could be what you were meant to be, called to be. This issue could present itself at any stage of life, as a young or middle-aged person contemplating a career move, at any age contemplating a new relationship, as a retired person wondering how you might contribute in some new and rewarding way, as a very elderly person contemplating how you might live your remaining time well and meaningfully. I know that it feels crazy to let go of the sure, the constant, the way it's been, and reach for something unsure, to make a major transition when the tried and true still seem to be working pretty well. I was in my early 40s, pretty successful, certainly comfortable, not disliking what I was doing as a practicing trial lawyer, doing good things, even things that aligned with my calling to do the work of justice. My trapeze bar at that time that I held on too tightly was swinging at a very nice, steady pace. And I felt pretty secure and in control of my life. But somehow not fully satisfied with what I was doing. And every once in a while, probably starting in my mid to upper 30s, and with increasing frequency as I moved into my 40s, I began to get a glimpse at that other trapeze bar that was swinging towards me. I was active in my Unitarian Universalist congregation, and increasingly I could see myself as a Unitarian Universalist minister. I knew that was the other trapeze bar that was swinging towards me. When I occasionally got up the courage to discuss that crazy idea of making such a monumental change, truthfully, I didn't get much support. You're crazy. You have a great life. You're doing so much good. My law partner told me it was just a midlife crisis and I should buy an expensive sports car and I would get over it. Well, I will spare you the story of my cursed Jaguar that I bought. I realized I was not going to get the support I wanted from other people who themselves were tightly holding on to the comfortable trapeze bar. And it was around that time that the poet Mary Oliver spoke to me. Oh, not in person, but one day I flipped open a book of her poetry and ran across the poem, The Journey. I know some of you know that poem. A copy of that poem actually has sat on my desk for the last 30 years. And it starts out, one day you finally knew what you had to do, and you began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble. And later on the poem says, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. It was already late enough. But little by little, you left their voices behind. The stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice that you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing that you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. Now, so many times, when the idea of what might be crossed my mind, I would grab one or another line out of that poem. I knew it was speaking to me, but I would dismiss it, thinking, oh, it's a nice thought, but things are good enough. It's not really possible. Not for me, not now. It'd be crazy. But at the same time, the idea of making this change charged my imagination with all kinds of new possibilities of what could be. It excited me. It inspired me. As I began to see the trapeze bar swinging towards me more often, the idea of making the leap to the other bar with my name on it filled me with fear and anxiety. I kind of tried to bargain with the idea, maybe I could start down this course just a little bit, but not really leave the practice of law, still hold on to the other bar tightly. And I tried that. I took several theological courses and visited divinity schools for several years while I was still practicing law. And yet the experience in my life kept telling me to let go and grab the other bar, that one coming towards me. Finally, in a moment of awkward courage, I completed the application to Harvard Divinity School that I had picked up several years previously while visiting the school, and that had been sitting partially completed in my center desk drawer for many months. I contacted references, and I sent it off. I only told a couple of people that I'd done this, thinking that when the rejection came, it would be the sign I needed to realize how blessed I was on my current path and to let go of the silly idea. To my horror, a letter of acceptance came just 3 weeks later. Elation was immediately followed by panic. What if I did do it, gave up all of it, and it didn't work out? There I was in this liminal space, this in-between time, just like the trapeze artist. I was afraid I might not reach the bar, that I would crash to the ground, no net to catch me. But that didn't happen. Instead, like the man on the flying trapeze, a momentum carried me forward. This transition time was actually a wonderful time, which was so full of opportunities and possibilities, of new ideas, of hope, of growth. It was such an alive time. Well, you sort of know the rest of the story. Perhaps you had a time like that in your life. Perhaps even right now, there's another trapeze bar swinging towards you, beckoning you to let go of the comfortable or the familiar and grab onto it. But you know what I've been thinking about of late as I re-engaged with Dane and Perry's parable of the trapeze artist is really how that parable applies not just to instances in our personal lives, but often in our collective lives as well. At times in the life of an organization, a congregation. And I believe that we, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende, are at one of those points in time right now. I believe for us to really thrive, not just survive, even though in our surviving we do a lot of good things, but to really thrive. There is something on the horizon, a bar swinging towards us. But in our holding tightly onto the way we've always done things, we're not fully able to grab it, to embrace it. Things like growth, new membership, greater diversity, new opportunities to connect with the greater community, opportunities not just to speak about, but to live our principles among us and beyond us. New opportunities, new needs, challenges to the way we've always done things. Another trapeze bar is swinging towards us, and to grab it collectively as a community, we have to let go of the old bar. But for lots of us, fear of falling, of crashing toward the ground, causes hesitation, even resistance. We think if we let go, gravity will propel us downward. But as Paula reminded us in that fun prelude, we can fly. We deserve a chance to fly. We have something that can defy gravity, that can move us forward through liminal time. There is a force that will carry us through a time of change if we can let go and reach for the new bar. To start with, we have the momentum gained from making great swings on the old bar. Very important. But more than that, we have the power of collective effort. We have the energy of what we can be. We have the imagination. We have hope. We have faith. Down deep, we know this. Meaningful change does not come easy. There are always those who say, keep things the way they are, or maybe just do some little small thing, tweak it a bit. And many congregations have withered away doing just that. But I do understand. I know from personal experience, and I bet many of you do too, letting go of the familiar, of the comfortable, and trusting in a time of transition is not easy. The cautious among us are not sure about letting go, and I get it. But if you're honest, I think you have to admit that the old model is in some ways falling short and not allowing us to be all we can be, not allowing Unitarian Universalism to be all that it can be in Mexico. These are such exciting possibilities for us. This time we are in is a time of imagination, of great creativity. There is momentum, and so many forces and resources that will come together and are coming together to carry us forward to new ways of ministry here, to create more diverse community, new ways of doing and understanding justice, increasing not just to help people, but to deeply connect with and include our neighbors in our beloved community. To really get there requires us to take that leap. Our faith, our principles, our location in a rich multicultural community are calling us to commit to taking that leap and to grabbing the bar that's swinging towards us. You know, this is a wonderful congregation, and it has been not just surviving, but thriving in many ways. And I think we're at a critical point now where the opportunity is before us to really thrive in new ways. I believe, as do many of you, that right now the bar that needs to be grabbed, that's swinging towards us, is our new Minister in Residence program. 1 or 2 years of commitment to have a professional minister whose skills can help connect, grow, realize dreams in new ways, hopefully bilingual, bicultural, who not only enriches our connections to and our understanding of the Mexican community, but to each other, creating and improving many programs within our fellowship, from our children's program to small group ministry programs, to education and service opportunities, to enrichments in social justice. A person who can help us to inform the local community in their language and sensitive to their traditions about our faith tradition, and better welcome the many who have already found us or are now considering a spiritual home with us. I hope that you're as excited about this program and ready to grab the bar as I am. In the words of that wonderful anthem that UU choir sang for us earlier in the service, it is time now. It's time now that we thrive. It's time now that we grab the bar. And what an exciting time that is. For as the anthem reminds us, we shall be known by the seeds of change we sow and the fruits of that change that we reap. That's our challenge. A challenge to which we are asked to open our hearts and commit. I believe that is what our faith calls us to do. For when the fire of our commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. So please rise as you're able. Join in singing those words, following Malcolm's lead, the fire of commitment, another hymn from our hymnal supplement. The words will appear momentarily on the screen.
I watched with great amazement as the flying trapeze artist released his grip on the home bar to hurl through space until he reached his partner's outstretched arms. Years of practice, skills developed over a lifetime, and faith in himself, his partners, and his equipment sustained him for those moments as he hurled himself through space and committed to those transitions which drew our gasps of awe. Traditions are a fact of life. This brief moment between the home bar and the new bar is through an uncertain yet challenging void where the past is gone and the future is not yet there. These are some of the most alive, most growth-filled, passionate, expansive moments in our lives where real change occurs. Our Unitarian Universalist faith, this fellowship, and each of us continue to experience transitions, for transitions are the lifeline of all life, the blood of our very existence. Today we heard about another transition in the life of this vibrant fellowship, the creation of a Minister in Residence program. Let us together honor, savor, and embrace this transition zone, knowing that, like the flying aerialist, we are a community with faith in itself, able to rely on one another for support and guidance. Transitions being a constant part of our lives continue. We will grab that new bar. We count on each and every one of us to create a unique bicultural, bilingual minister in residency program here at this fellowship. Our goal is to raise $60,000, 50% from members and friends, and 50% from outside grants. Remarkably, through the generosity of members, we have already received commitments of $20,000. We are already 1/3 of the way there. Hallelujah. You will soon receive notice and materials explaining how you can help support the Minister in Residence. Committee on Ministry members, myself, Bill Dalsimer, Bonnie McDowell, Kathy Canapé, Phyllis Culp, Eleanor Goodwin, Christy McGew, and Hugh Tomlinson stand ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you in anticipation for your generosity.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Phyllis, and all the members of the Committee on Ministry who are working so hard to help bring this project forward. And thanks to all of you for joining us today, either here or on Zoom, and we hope you'll be here with us again next week. Remember, there's time for sharing and discussion both on Zoom and in person after the service, outside here for coffee hour, or just stay on the Zoom station. You know, this flaming chalice represents so many things. Who we are, what we believe, who we can be. But it burns without purpose unless it is also our fire of commitment. Commitment to do the work, to support the work, to make the change, to grab the bar. We'll now extinguish this candle, but the flame continues to burn within us, setting our minds and hearts ablaze, propelling us forward to what can be, beyond fear and hesitation, defying gravity, carried by the momentum of love and hope and faith, to fly like the daring one on the flying trapeze.